Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Welcome to another session of
Names of Allah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 99 names. Whomsoever memorizes them will enter Jannah.
Okay. So last week we did one name, and that was
Ya Mujib, the answerer.
yes, Ya Mujib, the answerer, the one who answers all our du'as. And so today we're going to do something linked to this. Two names are linked to this. Ya Kareem, the most generous, and Ya Wasi', the limitless. So Ya Kareem, the most generous, and Ya Wasi', the limitless. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't just answer all our du'as, but when He's answering them, He's the most generous in terms of what He gives to us, and there's no limit to what He can give to us. Okay? So firstly, Ya Kareem, the most generous. So when we think of generosity, there's probably a few things that come to mind. A few different words. Like
sharing, giving, love, charity, grace, spirit of
yes.
generosity.
So there's so many different ways that we can be generous, right? So the one of the most obvious ways is that we can be generous with
money.
yes, money. Yes, we can give money to charity. That's an obvious one. But we can also be generous with our
time.
Yes. So we can volunteer. We can volunteer with charities. We can help people out and so on. We can be generous with our time, and also we can be generous with
love.
Yes, just generally we can be there for people. Be generous with our emotions. Be patient with people. That's also a form of generosity. So people can be generous. But when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is generous, the most generous, Ya Kareem, there's already quite a few names of Allah that we've learned that shows us His generosity. So here's just a few examples. So, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ya Shakur, the most grateful, we learned. Yes?
He generously gives so much when we only do a little.
Yes, we learned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Shakur, yes. When we do a small good deed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala generously gives us so much rewards in return. We learned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Ya Halim, the forbearing.
He generously waits and forgives even when we do wrong.
Yes, so there's an example of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's generosity in terms of His patience towards us. Even when we do something wrong, we don't get punished straight away. He waits, He gives us the opportunity to correct ourselves, and then He forgives us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ya Razzaq, the provider.
He generously provides to us things that are more than we need.
Yes, things that are more than we need. We learned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Ya Muqit, the sustainer. He gives us what we need. But Ya Razzaq, the provider, He gives us more than we need. And that's a form of generosity. And even more than that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ya Wahhab, the giver of gifts.
He generously gives us gifts that we didn't work for.
Yes. So, if you think about some of the greatest blessings that we have, our eyes, our mouths, our nose, and so on, these are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We didn't work for them. We didn't do anything to earn it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it to us. These are all forms of His generosity. So, we said that, people can be generous, yes? And, one way people can be generous is by giving money. But the thing is that when people give money, the one that they might start to notice that, okay, I'm giving money, but what happened? My money is starting to go down a bit. And so they might become a bit concerned. But maybe they'll carry on. They carry on giving money and they'll donate and so on. But after a bit, they might look back and think, oh, hang on a minute. What I had, all of it's gone. Or I've only got a little bit left. And that might make them sad. So then they might be reluctant to give that, to be generous. So maybe they start off being generous, but then over time, they might be more reluctant to be generous. They might be less generous over time. And even though in this example of giving money, we should remember that the Prophet ﷺ said that charity does not decrease your wealth. So actually, you're not losing out on that money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you that money back some other way. And that is an example of His generosity as well. But people might feel like, oh, when I be generous with my time or my money and so on, then I start to lose out. What I have starts to go down, and so people might be less generous in the future. But Ya Kareem is the most generous because he is also Ya Wasi', the limitless. And what we mean by this is that no matter what attribute of Allah you think about, there's no limit to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor, the all forgiving, the all is forgiven, the all forgiven. There's no limit to His forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, there's no limit to His mercy. Ya Wahhab, the giver of gifts, there's no limit to what kind of gifts He can give you. So no matter what attribute, what of Allah, what name of Allah you think of, it is limitless. There is no limit whatsoever to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's powers, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's generosity, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's treasures. So it's all linked. It's all linked. So we learned 2 names today. They are
Ya Kareem, the most generous, and Ya Waasi, the limitless.
Yes. Ya Kareem, the most generous, and Ya Waasi, the limitless. Right. So what should that mean for our lives? So firstly, we should
have faith in Allah's generosity. Never be shy about asking Allah for anything good, because there is no limit to what He can give you.
Yes. So remember, last week we learned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Mujib, the answerer. So you make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely answer it. So don't be shy about what you ask for, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous. And He's the most generous because He is also Ya Wasi, the limitless. There's no limit to His treasures. So you put all those 3 things together, and it means have faith in Allah's generosity and ask Allah. Ask every day. Ask as much as you want, how much as your heart desires from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything good, ask Allah. And always have faith in Allah's generosity. And remember, every dua you ask, Ya Mujib will respond to it. Okay? And the other thing is that we should also
be generous. The Prophet ﷺ said, the generous one is close to Allah, close to people, far from the fire. A stingy person is far from Allah, far from people, far from paradise.
Yes. So we should be generous, because being generous to other people, and it doesn't just mean with money, but being generous with our time, being generous with our emotions to other people, it'll bring us closer to Allah. It'll make us more loving to people, and it'll take us away from the fire and bring us close to Jannah. So we should try and be generous. Okay. So now let's go through the names that we learned so far. You ready? Okay. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Malik, Ya Quddus, Ya Salam, Ya Mu'min, Ya Muhaymin, Ya Aziz, Ya Jabbar, Ya Mutakabbir, Ya Khaliq, Ya Bari, Ya Musawwir, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafoor, Ya Kahar, Ya Wahhab, Ya Razzaq, Ya Fattah, Ya Alim, Ya Qabid, Ya Basit, Ya Khafid, Ya Rafi, Ya Mu'izz, Ya Muzil, Ya Sami', Ya Basir, Ya Hakam, Ya Adl, Ya Hakim, Ya Latif, Ya Khabir, Ya Shahid, Ya Raqib, Ya Halim, Ya Sabur, Ya Azim, Ya Ali, Ya Kabir, Ya Shakur, Ya Hafiz, Ya Muqit, Ya Hasib, Ya Jalil, Ya Majid, Ya Majid, Ya Mujib, Ya Kareem, and Ya Wasi'. Alhamdulillah. So that is 50 names we've learned so far. 50 names, that is 50% of the way through. We're halfway through, and we're not even halfway through the year, and we're halfway through the names of Allah. So Alhamdulillah, well done for keeping up this far. And if you missed a few, then that's okay, just a good time to just pick up. And you've done really well, halfway through the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remember, each of these names will bring you closer to Allah, help you understand Allah, and help you love Allah more, inshallah. So carry on practicing, carry on trying your best, and inshallah we'll speak to you next week. Assalamu alaikum.